Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor by Robert Kirkman and Bonansinga. Now, The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor is actually a two-part novel, and I have the two parts right here. There's The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor Part 1 and The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor Part 2. Now, Part 1 was published in 2013 and Part 2 was published in 2014. Now, I decided to just review both parts as one book. Now, The Fall of the Governor is the third book of a trilogy of tie-in novels to the comic book series The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the whole mythos of The Walking Dead, basically The Walking Dead is set in a post-apocalyptic world where this phenomenon happened where all the bodies of the recently dead had returned to life as zombies and have literally taken over the world, and both the comic books and the novels follow the human characters trying to survive in this world being overrun by zombies. Now, the first book in the series, Rise of the Governor, explained the origins of the character of the Governor, who was a pretty major character in the comic book series, and basically Rise of the Governor explained what drove the Governor to become the monster that he was in the comic book series. The second book in the series was called The Road to Woodbury, and this one explained the origins of the character of Lily Cole, who was another really important character from the comic book series. So now, in The Fall of the Governor, you see Lily and the Governor's stories finally coming to a close. Now, the events of this book actually coincide with the events of the comic book series. Like, if you've read the Walking Dead comic books, and if you've read volumes 5 through 8 of the comic book series, essentially, this book is taking place at the same time as the events of volume 5 through 8 of the Walking Dead graphic novel series. So the plot of the book is this group of strangers come to the town of Woodbury, and of course if you've read the comics, you know those strangers are actually Rick, Glenn, and Michonne, who are three of the main characters from the comic book series, and they come to the town of Woodbury and discover that the Governor, who is the man running everything in Woodbury, is a complete psychopath, and he tries to kill them. And basically the rest of the story is what ends up happening as a result of him trying to kill them, and it eventually leads to the Governor's people going to war with Rick's people, which, if you've read the comics, you know exactly how those events transpire. Basically, this book is essentially the same events from volumes 5 through 8 of the graphic novel series, only told from the Governor's point of view, as well as the character of Lily's point of view as well. And when you see it from Lily's point of view, you realize that she genuinely believes that the Governor is a good guy, and if you remember correctly, she actually tried to kill the Governor in the previous book, The Road to Woodbury, but now you realize that she basically has accepted the Governor now, and, you know, so it's kind of interesting because you realize how much she hated the Governor in the previous book. Now she's actually starting to trust the Governor, even though you realize that the Governor is a complete psychopath. So it is really interesting, like, if you see it from her point of view and the point of view of the other residents of Woodbury, you realize that they genuinely believed that the Governor was their hero, and, you know, that's something I like about the book, because if you just read the comic book series, the residents of Woodbury just come off as being kind of evil. In this, it actually explains their motives a little bit more. But yeah, I would definitely recommend The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor, both parts. If I were to have a complaint about this book, I would say that with the first two books, Rise of the Governor and The Road to Woodbury, you could easily read those books without having to read the comic book series, but I feel like with this book, you kind of have to at least be familiar with the events of the comic book series in order to get everything that's going on in this book. But besides that, I would say that if you are a fan of the comic book series, I would definitely recommend reading this. Also, I would recommend reading the first two books as well, because I have to say that for a comic book tie-in series, the novels are actually pretty well written. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and bye.